You ever spend over $1,000 just to feel seen by the people who claim they love you? That's what I did. $1,147 and some change. Groceries, candles, wine, linen rentals. I even bought those tiny silver napkin rings that scream holiday catalog, even in July. I hosted a dinner in my downtown Seattle apartment, not because I was lonely, but because I wanted them to remember the version of me that smiled more, the one I was before Alina died. Alina was my fiancée, a biologist, wore vintage denim and red lipstick like armor. She could name every tree on a hike and always ordered dessert before the entree. We were 3 months away from our wedding when she got hit by a car biking home from work. She was gone before the ambulance even got there. I didn't scream. I just folded. After the funeral, I stayed in that silence. It felt sacred, almost. I deleted our registry, donated the dress, kept her cookbooks, all smudged with notes and lemon zest. I kept the recipes. It was all I had left. For months, I buried myself in code. I'm a software engineer, so it's easy to disappear into something with clean logic and no grief. But one night, in the middle of debugging a feature I can't even remember now, I looked up and realized I hadn't spoken to my sister or mom in weeks. Not since the funeral. I thought maybe it was time to reconnect. Maybe we all needed this. So, I texted everyone. Dinner at my place. Sunday night. Just family. They all said yes. I rented chairs, ordered place cards, pulled out Alina's lemon pasta recipe, the one she made for my birthday every year. I wanted to honor her without making it a memorial. I thought, if we could eat together, laugh together, maybe they'd see that I was trying, that I was healing. I spent Saturday shopping. Prosciutto, fresh basil, handmade fettuccine, white wine from a vineyard she loved. I ironed napkins, made mocktails for my sober cousin. I even lit the candle she used to keep on our bookshelf, just to feel her there. When Sunday came, my apartment smelled like her, citrus and rosemary. The windows were cracked just enough to let the summer breeze drift in. I played her favorite Miles Davis record on vinyl. I was nervous, but ready. The doorbell rang at 6:03. First came my sister Jasmine and her husband Dean. Then my mom. Then cousins and my aunt. 12 people in total. I hugged them all, poured drinks, gave tours. Everyone said the place looked so nice and grown up. I smiled. I needed this to go well. Dinner started just after 7. I made a small toast, nothing dramatic. Just a glad you're here, and thank you for coming. I served the lemon pasta, and for a moment, I swear, things felt okay. People were laughing. Someone asked about a painting on my wall. My cousin complimented the food. My mom said, Alina would have been proud. And then, everything changed. My sister clinked her wine glass. I remember the exact sound. Sharp, deliberate, like she practiced it. Everyone quieted. Forks paused midair. She stood, holding her glass, smiling in that tight, trying to be sincere way. And then she said the words that cracked something deep in me. We love you, Kendrick. But this isn't healthy. My gut twisted. My heart started racing. I looked around the table. No one seemed surprised. Everyone just nodded slowly, eyes full of something I didn't recognize. And in that split second, I realized. This wasn't dinner. This was something else entirely. And I had no idea what was coming next. We love you, Kendrick. But this isn't healthy. Those words didn't come with a hug. They came like an announcement. And everyone at the table, my own family, just sat there, complicit, sipping wine from the glasses I polished that morning. I blinked, thinking maybe Jasmine was about to crack a joke. But she didn't. She kept going. You've isolated yourself. You're still sleeping in the apartment you shared with her. You haven't joined a group or gone to therapy. We're just worried. Worried? Then why did they RSVP with smiley faces and hearts? My cousin Troy chimed in next, like it was rehearsed. Man, it's been what? 9 months? That's a long time to grieve. I stared at him, stunned. He didn't even come to the funeral. My mom placed her wine glass down carefully, like she didn't want to smudge the stem. She reached into her handbag and pulled out a glossy trifold brochure. I remember the font. Teal, clean, a photo of mountains in the background. Aliceville Wellness, she said softly, sliding it toward me like a secret weapon. They specialize in loss, in transitions. We already spoke to someone on staff. They said they'd do a free consultation. Free. Like I was some busted car in need of diagnosis. I looked around the table again. My aunt was nodding. Dean wouldn't meet my eyes. The cousins just fidgeted. No one stopped this. Not one person. This wasn't a family dinner. It was an ambush in candlelight. I could feel the back of my neck burning. My chest tightened. But I didn't speak. I didn't storm out. I didn't cry. Instead, I smiled. Not because I was okay, but because I suddenly saw everything clearly. All of it. Every hug at the door. Every compliment. Every dish they scraped clean. It was a performance. They played nice, so I'd lower my guard. And now they were diagnosing me, like I hadn't already lived through the worst kind of goodbye. Jasmine went on. We just want the old Kendrick back. That's when I finally spoke. There is no old Kendrick. Silence. Like I'd shouted profanity in church. I stood up, slowly, pressing my palms into the edge of the table. The man who existed before October 19th died that day too. I'm not stuck in grief. I'm surviving it. Jasmine looked like she wanted to say more, but I held up my hand. I cooked you lemon pasta from Alina's journal. I opened wine she picked. I played her records. You smiled through every bite, pretending this was about reconnection. But it wasn't. It was about control. About fixing me so you'd feel better. Then I did something that shocked even me. I walked to the kitchen, picked up the ceramic serving bowl, and dumped the rest of the pasta into the trash. Every forkful. Then the salad. Then the wine. You don't get to enjoy the memory of her, I said, if you refuse to understand the loss of her. No one moved. No one protested. Maybe they didn't expect pushback. Maybe they assumed I'd fold, cry, thank them. Maybe that's how the last intervention went, when Dad left. I wouldn't know. I was 12. I turned off the Miles Davis record. The room suddenly felt too quiet. Dinner's over, I said. Dean stood, awkwardly patting his khakis. Hey man, maybe this wasn't the best way to. Leave, I said. They started trickling out, one by one. Jasmine lingered at the door, her face a mix of guilt and offense. You're pushing us away. I stared at her. You didn't come to hold space. You came to shrink mine. She left without another word. I shut the door, locked it, turned the deadbolt even though I never use it. Then I sat on the floor of my kitchen and let the silence settle. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I didn't spiral. I just sat there for hours, surrounded by the dishes I scrubbed, the candles I lit, the ghost of a woman who would have known this wasn't love. And around midnight, I opened my laptop. I pulled out the notes I'd written after Alina died. All the things I wished someone had said to me. All the things I wanted to scream into the void. I started outlining an idea I had back when the grief was fresh. A platform for people like me. Not therapy. Not advice. Just a space. A space for grief without a timer. I worked until 4 a.m. And when I finally closed the screen, I knew one thing. They may have come for dinner, but I came out of it with a blueprint. And I wasn't done building. The day after the ambush dinner, I didn't sleep in. I didn't lie in bed reliving the conversations or reading the brochure they'd left behind, sitting like an insult on my counter. I opened a fresh notebook and wrote 2 words at the top of the page, Alina's Echo. That's what I decided to call the grief app one started building. But even as I sketched the features, an anonymous journal space, nightly check-in audio logs, voice memos that sounded more like friends than doctors, I could feel something else surfacing. Not inspiration, not momentum, memory. And memory has a vicious way of rearranging the present. Because now I remembered every time my sister dismissed Alina in life. Like when she asked why I'd waste money proposing to a woman who still had student loans. Or how she refused to attend the bridal shower because it was too vegan. That was Jasmine's word, too vegan. I remembered how Mom never once visited Alina in the hospital. She said, I don't like seeing people sick. It makes me feel helpless. Alina died without even a card from her. They weren't grieving with me. They were impatient with me. That afternoon, I began writing each of them letters. One by one. Not out of rage, but clarity. I didn't even address them with dear. There was nothing dear left. I told Jasmine she'd mistaken control for concern. I told Mom that healing couldn't be scheduled around brunches and spa weekends. I told Dean and Troy that silence during an ambush makes them just as guilty. Every line of those letters was like releasing a toxin I'd swallowed months ago. And then, something strange happened. I got a voicemail. It was from Jasmine. Hey Kendrick, I didn't sleep last night. I think we handled things wrong. I was trying to help, but maybe I didn't know how. Call me, please. For a moment, I considered it. But then I remembered the look in her eyes the night before, not worry. Satisfaction. Like she expected applause for cornering me. I didn't call her back. Instead, I drove across town to a coffee shop Alina used to love. I hadn't been there since she passed. The barista still remembered her name. She gave me a free muffin, said, "She always said you were the kindest man she knew." I almost broke down right there. Instead, I walked to the back corner and began coding. By 5 p.m., I had the first page of Alina's Echo Live. Just a static page. No links. No features yet. But the tagline? Grief doesn't need fixing. It needs space. Later that night, Mom texted, "Mom, you were always too sensitive. This is why we worry." Me, "You don't have to worry anymore." "Mom, what does that mean?" I didn't reply, but I did start packing. Because one thing was crystal clear now. This city, this apartment, it was hers and mine. Full of memories that were mine to guard, not theirs to judge. And if I stayed here too long, I'd keep inviting the same ghosts in new clothing. I decided I was going to leave Seattle. Not forever, but for long enough. I called an old friend from college, Josie, who now lived in Bend, Oregon. She'd lost her husband last year in a car crash. I asked, "Is there space on your couch?" She didn't hesitate. Always. The next morning, I dropped my letters in the mailbox and booked a one-way bus ticket. I locked the apartment, stood at the door, and whispered, "Alina, this isn't goodbye. This is groundwork." And as I walked down the block, a strange calm settled over me. But just before I reached the end of the street, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "You don't know me, but I think I just adopted your fiancé's dog." I stopped cold. Alina's dog? The one her parents gave away after the funeral without telling me? The dog I spent months trying to track down? I called the number immediately. "Hello." A woman answered. Nervous voice. "I saw your name in the vet records." Her name's Olive, right? Golden retriever, missing one back paw. I nearly dropped the phone. "Yes. Oh my God, yes. She's here. I think she remembers you." I didn't cry, but my knees buckled. Because I knew, in that moment, Alina hadn't really left. Not completely. And if Olive was back in reach, then maybe healing wasn't behind me. Maybe it was just beginning. I thought I was just visiting Bend for a week. Get some air. Clear my head. Avoid my family. But that call about Olive, the dog Alina had raised from a pup, flipped everything. When Alina passed, her parents didn't let me take Olive. "We think it's too painful for you," they said. They rehomed her without even asking me. I tried everything. Calls, emails, even posted in rescue groups. Nothing. I thought she was gone. But now, there I was, standing on a stranger's porch in Sisters, Oregon. Her name was Dana. Late 30s. Nurse. Widow. She opened the door slowly, as if unsure whether I'd bolt or break down. Then Olive came into view. Same golden coat. Same eyes like honey. But older. A little slower. A bit more gray around the muzzle. "Olive," I whispered. She froze mid-step, then launched forward, whimpering, shaking, and I dropped to my knees. I hadn't cried in weeks. But I cried then. Not from sadness. From something deeper. Recognition. "She's yours, isn't she?" Dana said softly. I could tell when I looked in her eyes. I nodded. Dana didn't fight it. Didn't question it. She handed me the leash like she was passing a torch. I only had her a few weeks. I saw her at a shelter north of Eugene. No one claimed her. No microchip. Just a file number and notes that she had behavioral issues. She chuckled sadly. She didn't. She just grieved. We talked for an hour. Turns out Dana had lost her partner too. Her story mirrored mine in eerie ways. And when I told her about Alina's Echo, she grabbed her tablet and signed up for the beta version on the spot. Grief support by the grieving? That's what we need. I left with Olive asleep in the passenger seat, her head resting on a flannel blanket that still smelled faintly like Alina's shampoo. And for the first time in over a year, I didn't feel like I was driving away from something. I was driving towards something. But that feeling didn't last long. Because by the time I got back to Josie's place, my phone was on fire. 15 missed calls. 7 voicemails. A group text from my mom. "We need to talk. Now. Don't embarrass yourself further." Attached was a photo. It was of my old apartment. My sister and her husband, Dean, standing in the living room, with a U-Haul parked out front. They'd gone into my place, moved my things, changed the locks. I felt like the floor dropped out beneath me. I called the building manager. He said, "Your sister said you were going into treatment." She brought a signed note. My voice trembled. "What note?" She said it was from you. It wasn't. I never signed anything. They'd faked it. Used my grief as an excuse. Told everyone I was unstable. all while smiling at me during dinner and texting behind my back. I trusted them to show up, and they showed up, with moving boxes and betrayal. I called Jasmine, straight to voicemail. Then I called Dean. He answered, "Hey, Kendrick, you're blowing this out of proportion. You stole my home. We didn't steal it. We're helping you. You weren't using it. You're clearly not well." Not well. That phrase lit something in me. "I'm coming back," I said coldly. "Kendrick, don't be dramatic. I'm coming back. Tomorrow." I hung up. Josie stood in the kitchen, arms crossed. "You okay?" "No," I said, "but I know what I need to do." She nodded. "Whatever happens, I'm behind you." That night, I didn't sleep much. Neither did Olive. She kept pacing the room, sensing my rage, my panic, my planning. But when morning came, we were ready. I had proof the note wasn't mine. Emails, timestamps, text logs. I had security cam footage from my front door showing Jasmine using a key she'd lost. And I had a lawyer, an old friend from my first job in tech, who offered to draft a cease and desist before I even finished the story. But the part that scared them the most was that I wasn't angry. I was composed, focused, and I'd already contacted a local news outlet who'd recently featured Alina's echo. I told them, "You want a follow-up story? I've got one for you." Tomorrow, I would walk back into my apartment. Not to fight, but to reclaim. Because the people who tried to rewrite my pain didn't realize something simple. You can't evict someone from their own grief. And you can't hijack the healing they've earned. They thought I'd break, but they forgot. I'm a software engineer. I debug things for a living. And now, they were the bug in the code. And I was about to rewrite everything. I showed up at my old apartment at 9:03 a.m. sharp. Olive was in the back seat, tail twitching, alert. I'd printed everything, screenshots, video stills, lease documentation, even the timestamps showing Jasmine's unauthorized access. I wasn't just coming home. I was coming with receipts. The U-Haul was still parked outside, half empty. I caught Dean halfway through carrying my reading chair down the stairs. His jaw tightened when he saw me. "Kendrick, listen, man." I didn't let him finish. "Drop it. That's mine. You don't have to be like this." I stepped closer. "I wasn't like this. You made me like this." Then I held up the envelope. Inside was the cease and desist letter my lawyer drafted, detailing criminal trespass, forgery, and civil liability. I'd filed a police report an hour earlier, just before I arrived. Dean tried to play it off. "Your mom said you weren't thinking clearly. She was trying to help." "Help," I repeated. "By stealing my home? My things. No one stole. Where's Alina's urn?" That shut him up. I shoved past him and rushed up the stairs. The lock had been changed, like the manager said, but I had a locksmith waiting in the parking lot. 10 minutes later, I was inside. It was worse than I imagined. Her memory wall, the one with concert tickets, Polaroids, and postcards from every hike we ever took, was gone. Her clothes, packed into a single trash bag near the door. My guitars shoved under the bed like junk. All my work gear boxed up and labeled store or donate. It was like they tried to erase her. Erase us. I grabbed the urn from the linen closet, tucked behind a roll of toilet paper like it was nothing. Held it close. Felt a rage I didn't know I had tightened around my chest like a seatbelt in a crash. That's when Jasmine walked in. She didn't even look ashamed. Just annoyed. "Kendrick, come on. We were doing this for your own good. You forged my signature." "No, we replicated it. There's a difference." I turned toward her slowly. "You broke into my home. You moved my things. You pretended I wasn't capable of deciding what grief looks like. We were just trying to help you move on." "No," I said, shaking. "You were trying to control the narrative. You couldn't handle my grief, so you tried to package it into something you could live with." She scoffed. "This app thing, this obsession with Alina, it's not healthy." I paused, then reached for the iPad in my messenger bag. Opened Alina's echo. Tapped play on the latest testimonial video submitted that morning. A woman appeared on screen. "I lost my son to a fentanyl overdose last year. My friend stopped answering my calls after a month. I felt like I was screaming into a void. This app, this space Kendrick created, gave me permission to feel again. Not to fix, not to move on, just to breathe." Jasmine's expression cracked for the first time. "You think you know what healing looks like," I said. "But maybe healing looks like thousands of strangers being allowed to say, 'Me too.' Maybe it looks like me rebuilding, not erasing." She was quiet. Then, "Well, Mom wants to talk. Tell Mom to talk to my lawyer." I handed her a second envelope. This one labeled Restraining Order Pending Review. Because I wasn't just defending myself anymore. I was defending grief itself. I stayed in the apartment that night, even though it didn't feel like home yet. Olive curled beside me on the couch, nose pressed to my leg, like she could smell the storm leaving my body. And somewhere between 2 and 4 a.m., I got an email notification. Subject line, partnership offer, feature request for Alina's Echo. It was from a major grief foundation. They wanted to collaborate. They'd seen the local segment. They called my work a game changer. I stared at the screen for a long moment. The same hands they called paralyzed by pain were now building something people believed in. The same voice they said was stuck in the past was echoing across the country. And the same people who said I wasn't well were now blocked on every platform I owned. But the final twist hadn't arrived yet. That came 2 days later in the form of a certified letter from my fiance's parents. They wanted to meet. They'd seen the app. They wanted to talk about forgiveness. But not mine. Theirs. And when I read the first line, I realized they'd been holding something from me. Something about Alina. Something she'd left behind. Something they never planned to tell me. Until now. The letter was hand-signed by her father, Gregory Norwood. Alina had always said he was stern but kind, quiet in public, louder in private. He'd never quite accepted her moving in with me without a ring. We didn't fight him on it. We just lived, loved, built what we could. And now, this letter, postmarked from Napa, sat trembling in my hand. Dear Kendrick, we saw your story on Como. It stopped us in our tracks. Alina would have been proud of what you've done. We would like to meet, if you're open to it. There's something she left behind, something she wanted you to have. Warmly, Gregory and Maggie Norwood. At first, I didn't believe it. Why now? After a year of silence. After not even showing up at the hospital or the funeral. But then I remembered, Alina had been private with them, too. She'd once told me, my parents love me, but they're not good with messy emotions. Maybe this was their way of showing up. Late, but showing up nonetheless. 2 days later, I stood outside their craftsman home in the hills of Napa Valley. Red brick, lemon trees, a porch swing that creaked softly in the wind. Gregory opened the door with no smile, just a quiet nod. Maggie hugged me, tight, no words. We sat down in their sunroom, surrounded by bookshelves and old jazz vinyls. She brought out tea. He brought out the box. It was small, navy blue, with a faded gold clasp. Inside, a stack of Polaroids, a thumb drive, a sealed letter addressed to Kendrick, to be opened only if I'm gone. My hands went cold. You didn't think I needed to know about this? I asked gently, not accusatory yet, but raw. Maggie looked down. She gave it to us months before the accident. She asked us to wait, to only give it to you when you were ready. Ready for what? Her version of goodbye, Gregory said. And something more. I opened the letter first. Kendrick, if you're reading this, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to leave you behind like this. But you were always the one who saw me, who held space when I couldn't even hold my own thoughts. This thumb drive has all the footage from my final project, the one I never finished. I want you to finish it. You're the only one who would understand the story I was trying to tell. It's called Echoes of Us. Do with it what you will. But know this. I loved you with every breath I had. Always. Alina. I couldn't speak. I plugged the drive into my laptop right there at the dining table. There were 53 files. Clips of her walking downtown, talking to strangers about loss. Footage of us cooking, dancing, falling asleep on the couch. Her narrating in voiceover. Sometimes grief is just love with nowhere to go. So I'm filming where it lands instead. She'd been crafting this documentary for months. Quietly, intentionally. And it was beautiful. Then, at file number 42, I froze. The screen showed her sitting on our balcony, wind in her hair, looking straight into the lens. I don't know if this will ever make it out there. But if something ever happens, Kendrick, I want you to finish it. Because I think your voice is part of the story. Maggie wiped her eyes. She told us this was her real legacy. Not law school, not some high-paying job. Just this. Her honesty. Her journey. With you. I stayed for hours. We didn't talk much more. But before I left, Gregory placed one more item in my hand. It was her journal. I couldn't read it, he said. But she wanted you to have it. First entry is from the day she met you. Back in Seattle, I didn't unpack for 3 days. I read every journal page like scripture. Her handwriting, her fears, her dreams, her drawings of our future apartment layout. One page wrecked me. I know he's still haunted by his past, but Kendrick builds light around his grief. And maybe that's enough. I'd been designing an app, building a support group, trying to help others. But now I had the chance to help her, to finish Echoes of Us, to weave my story into hers, to let her voice echo into every home that needed to hear it. But I wasn't prepared for what the final journal entry would reveal. Not just her thoughts, but a secret she kept hidden even from me. One that would flip everything I thought I knew. About her final days. Her journal was worn, the leather soft, like it had been held through more storms than I knew. The last few pages were paper thin, corners frayed. I turned them slowly, heart tightening with every line. The second to last entry was a grocery list. Bananas, chicken broth, jasmine rice. Normal, mundane. I smiled, weirdly comforted by its smallness. But then came the final page, dated 2 weeks before the accident. It wasn't an accident at all. I didn't tell Kendrick what the doctor said. I saw the tumor on the scan. Stage 4. I asked about options. He said aggressive treatment might buy time, but not much. I couldn't do that to him. Not again. Not the hospital walls. Not the waiting. I want him to remember me with light. Dancing. Painting. Pasta. Music. Not hooked up to machines. My breath caught in my throat. I'd spent over a year grieving what I thought was a freak accident. The driver who ran a red light. The shattered windshield. The gut punch of randomness. But she knew. She had been living on borrowed time. And she never told me. A slow scream crawled up my spine. Not anger, not hate. Just this aching blend of sorrow and understanding. She was protecting me, even from the truth, even if it broke me later. But the line that haunted me most came at the end of the entry. If you're reading this, Kendrick, then the lie caught up. But I hope the love did too. Finish the film. Let that be our forever. I stared out the window for hours that night. Seattle's rain painted streaks across the glass. I didn't move. All the quiet moments, all the times she said, "Let's not talk about the future. Let's just live now." They weren't about presents. They were her slow goodbye. The next day, I got to work. I locked myself in my apartment, put my job on sabbatical, and I began editing. 53 clips, voiceovers, old voicemails, snippets of us cooking, sobbing strangers in alleys, sunrises from the balcony. My own narration began slipping in, raw, unrehearsed. I called it Echoes of Us. Weeks passed, then a month. One night, I submitted the documentary to 6 festivals. Didn't think much would happen. But then, one morning, I woke up to an email from South by Southwest. Official selection. Documentary short. March 18th. I dropped my phone. Alina. She was still speaking. Through film. Through pain. Through every second I'd refused to delete. But the week before the festival, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something made me pick up. Is this Kendrick Miles? Yes. This is Detective Navarro with the Napa County Sheriff's Department. You were listed as an emergency contact in the case of Gregory Norwood. My heart slammed into my ribs. Gregory, Alina's dad? What happened? I'm sorry to inform you he passed away from cardiac arrest last night. But there's something else. We found a safety deposit key on his person. Inside it was a manila envelope addressed to you. It contained a sealed letter and audio recordings. We need to ask you a few questions about the contents. I flew to Napa the next morning. The envelope was thick, the tape crusted from years of dust. The letter began, "Kendrick, if I've passed, then it's time you know the whole truth about what happened to Alina. I lied to protect my wife, but I can't carry this to my grave. The truth wasn't cancer. The truth was a decision she made on a rain-soaked road, and we believe someone was with her in the car." My knees buckled. There had been another person? The detective slid a photograph across the table. It was from a gas station camera. Time-stamped. Alina, in the driver's seat, and someone else in the passenger side. Hoodie pulled low. Blurred face. We believe this may have been an old friend of hers, or possibly someone from her counseling group. We're reopening the case. I couldn't breathe. All this time, I thought I had buried everything with her. But now there was another echo. One I never expected. A secret ride. A hidden passenger. A truth she never wrote down. And now, I was being asked to face it. Because Echoes of Us wasn't finished. Not yet. Not even close.